about securing their data. We provide right tools and technologies for them to manage it from visibility perspective, masking perspective, encryption perspective, transmission perspective, even analysis, and every type of data is treated separately, the PII and the other transactional data.
We have a lot of people with questions. Can I please suggest we limit to one question and we'll come back. We have the lady in the back and we'll come back to you next. Go ahead. And just on the data thing, we don't have access to our customers' data. Right? So be clear that our customers' data is our customers' data. We do not have access to it. Right? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Himanshi from Economic Times. I have a question about your new offering for the government services. Can you elaborate on your GTM strategy with this offering, given that you're entering the market at a time when government has already gone through substantial digital transformation and it already has certain managed service providers. In fact, the NIC has its own Megharaj cloud. What would you say about your time to entry to the market? Why do you think that you needed a separate offering for for government services? Are there any differentiated offerings that you have for the government? And would you also talk about the pricing of this new offering, because government generally rolls out this through an exhaustive RFP process. So just on that.
Yeah, so I think you have to look at, when you look at Salesforce offerings, we have two types of offerings. We have what we call horizontal offerings and then industry-specific offerings, like Sales Cloud, for example. Anybody who wants to manage a customer's journey from being a prospect to a customer, right, will typically use Sales Cloud. Any customer who wants to manage their ongoing interactions, their service experience, will use what we call Service Cloud. These are horizontal offerings that can be used by any customer in any industry. What we did in the last 5 years is we built industry clouds that sit on top of these horizontal offerings. Essentially, taking the underlying data foundation, but what we said was, we will create specific data models, right? I'll give you an example, not in the government cloud for now, but I could even take government cloud, right? We could take Aadhaar as the primary key for all data sitting inside our Gov cloud, right? If I look at an auto cloud, right, it's no longer the customer's first name or last name, the VIN number of the vehicle becomes a starting point on which, so we build data models specific to every industry. And then what we said is we'll also build workflows. See, 95% of what we bring to the table is automation, efficiency, and the ability to automate workflows. So workflows are consistent, like we talked about in the lending cloud, right? There's a consistent workflow that happens once I enter customer information. The flow of work is from upfront customer acquisition into the underwriter, from underwriter to pre-disbursement to disbursement. Everybody and every customer should not have to build this flow. So we build it for our customers in the financial services cloud. We further tuned it for India in the lending cloud. So on a similar note, just coming back to your question, our customers in the government can use any of our horizontal products. In fact, we have a lot of customers today who are using Sales Cloud, right, in the public sector business. We have customers who are using Service Cloud, for example, right? We have customers who are evaluating our Marketing Cloud, our Commerce Cloud. Public sector cloud essentially brings a lot of very specific data models and workflows for governments that want to track initiatives, funding, insights in terms of what it is. So I think what you should expect is we will see both. We will see our solutions that are used by customers around the world, as well as government-specific capabilities that our public sector cloud brings to the table. So that's on the solution. Hopefully I've answered that question.
Just if I can take one.
Yeah.
Just to give a very specific point on, Arun has already elaborated on everything. Say in public sector, citizen services. So citizen services is one of the important aspects that at every level, right? It might be at a local authority level, which is at the municipality level, or any other government entity. I might interact for what we call it as a citizen services. So you know what those citizen services are. Maybe inquiring about my tax, maybe talking about my property tax and various other things. So these citizen services, part of our public sector offering, as Arun was talking about, he also alluded and spoke about the benefits and the other areas, which are very specific to the way in which government engages with citizens, and citizens also engage with the government. So as he rightly said, the data model, the processes, the workflows are available as part of that public sector offering, and there are multiple areas in that.
As far as go-to-market is concerned and why we're entering now in I think, if I look at, and I came back to India in 2007, and this was the peak of first generation of I would say, the transformation that was happening in the government, and I still remember fondly sitting in the first few meetings when Aadhaar was being conceived, right, back in 2007. And I still remember the numbers that Nandan and team were throwing at us in terms of what they thought the Aadhaar project was going to lead to. And we saw projects like APDRP and the entire the power distribution network being built across a whole bunch of areas. But honestly, if you think about where we are and how government can service citizens better, I think AI and the way you use data is going to foundationally change and transform everything. Look, this is not something built one and sit for the next 50 years, right? I think one of the great things that we've seen in the last 15 years is the government is constantly innovating on how they can make life easier. Take DigiYatra as an example, right? I mean, lived in the US for a long time, you pay $180 for Clear, right? 1.4 billion Indians have this for free, and it's happening at a speed and scale that's unprecedented. And so, as you think about the scale and the pace at which innovation will happen, I don't think that the transformation is done. I think we are now going to scratch, and we're going to start going at the next, the big rock, so to speak, in terms of how we bring all the data together, how we service them better, how do we bring government to the citizen's doorstep, right? Which, if you ask me, is the absolute nirvana state to be in. And so I think the opportunity and the time is right for us to enter. So as pricing is concerned, hey, we'll do what it takes to make sure we're
So
confident
we
in the
will be
marketplace.
part of the RFPs. I'm not saying that there will be anything different. We will very much be part of the RFPs that come out. We will compete. We will hope to win. But then, it's the process. We will go through the process. So even preparation is required to go through the process. You need to have the right kind of, people. You need to have the right kind of teams to enable you to go through that. And we have managed to get the investment to put all of that together. So yes, we will be part of the process.
Sure, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, my name is Brian Pereira. I'm from ISMG. This is my annual visit to Sierra World 2. My question is, in your keynote, you showed, one of the slides you showed is that the government departments are in silos. How does the GovCloud plan to A, integrate all these different systems, and B, bring together all the data? Are you providing some kind of data lake? And thirdly, how are you going to help them to condition that data, massage it, clean it up, so that it's ready for AI?
So that's the essence of what we presented in the keynote. If you recall Deepak's presentation on Data Cloud, essentially it's telling all our customers, and it's not only I would say specific to government or enterprise or even a small customer, right? They're essentially saying your data is sitting in silos. Customers are sick of creating one more data project, right? So in large organizations, there's sometimes 3, 4, 5 data projects, right? So if you go to a CEO and say, I've got a solution for your data problem, and he goes like this, don't tell me 2 more years and another few $1 million down the drain. And so we took that feedback seriously. So when we built Data Cloud, we said, leave your data where it is, right? In real time, we will basically do a zero copy of that data into Data Cloud. We will harmonize that data so that we massage it, we unify it. So I don't show up as Arun K. Parameswaran, Arun Kumar Parameswaran, or A. Parameswaran. I could have 3 different records of myself. How do I harmonize that into a single record? And then how do I in real time then decide what I should do with that data? And I was the government agency recently, and they said, they were finding that government employees were availing of food subsidies which they're not entitled to. And the clawback that they did when they brought this data together and harmonized it, of course, this is not with Salesforce, I'm just giving an example. They found that they clawed back something like 25 crores of money back from government employees who were essentially applying for food subsidies that they're not eligible for. And the people who actually should have been getting those food subsidies were not getting that, right? So here's a classical example in the government space where if you have the right data, and we can help you build this in simple flows, right? So we can say, create a cohort of all government employees, okay? From once I've harmonized the data, I can say, create a group a cohort, a segment of all government employees. I can then go to the food ministry and say, give me the names of all the people who've actually asked for a food subsidy or received a food subsidy. I can do a match, and then I can then pull out an action that says go and recover, right? Or trigger an action to the Department of Revenue to say, please go recover all of this money, because these are people who are government employees, right? But who have received food subsidies. So the ability now for you to, in very simple clicks, remember earlier you had to build complicated software code to do all of this, right? Our promise from day one is low code, no code, right? From day one, 25 years back when we started. So now with Data Cloud, with Einstein, Copilot and the prompt builder that we showed, you can literally build all of this to now suddenly do this at a scale which was unparalleled, right? And so that's the power that we will bring. Now, this can be for government, this can be for enterprise, this can be for a small business. We don't differentiate. The other thing, somebody raised the question of security. How secure is this, right? For those of you who don't know how we work, we're a SaaS company, right? Which means there's only two versions of software that we have, as our president Srini talks about it. There's one in production that's currently there. There's one in development. Okay? Every 4 months, we release a new version of our software. Now that software goes to everybody from, like I said, my favorite Iyengar bakery down the street who's using Salesforce, to the National Security Agency or Ministry of Finance in India or the State Bank of India. They all get the same level of security, the same level of trust. We built one version. Now I've lived in software world for the last 25 years, I can tell you it doesn't work that way, right? There'll be 7 different versions. Every time you upgrade, you go through a year of testing. 98% of our customers don't even know when they wake up one day that we just upgraded them to the latest version. All of their customizations work exactly the way it's supposed to work in the previous version and the new version. So by benefit of our cloud-based infrastructure and the SaaS model that we deliver, we ensure that every customer has access to that highest level of security and trust, which is what we built Salesforce 25 years back. So whether it's government, enterprise, Data Cloud unifies that disparate data, and then we pass it on to our various, we call it clouds. Like Arundhati said, cloud, don't think about it as AWS, Azure as infrastructure. The platforms that our customers use to engage, whether it's on sales, on service, on marketing, or whether it's to do B2C commerce, B2B commerce, all of these different will inherit that, right? And so the beauty is that once we've harmonized the data and we have a view, we can then personalize it and we can create complex flows that can actually deliver very, very important capabilities and insights for our customers.
And the one thing that we are very clear about is each customer's data remains their own. It's not seen by us. It's not seen by other customers. And even if a customer wishes that within their organization, different businesses keep their data separate, they will be kept separate. You're talking about government, having their data in silos. It's not only government. Every organization has its data in silos. Imagine an organization which has its data in a data lake, which gets to the data lake, by the way, with a time lag. Then they have the data sitting, say, in the mail system, which is not there in the data lake. They have their data sitting in the transaction system, which also may be migrating to the data lake, but with a lag. It might actually be real-time data. Like you saw the AI, the Air India example, where a customer is actually interacting. So that's real-time data. That's not there in your data lake as yet. So what actually we do is we draw the intelligence from all of it and make it available real-time. Okay? That's the beauty of it. So real-time you get, as I'm talking to Payal as in that example, Payal's entire profile will float up to me. Now if for instance you have a retailer, the retailer has a website, the retailer has shops. Now you go to the website, you look at a few items, put it in the cart, abandon the cart and walk away. Okay, just you think you don't have time or you're not too sure how it'll fit, how it'll look, you abandon it, you go away. Now the next time maybe you go to the shop, what happens is that as you are inquiring about whatever you want to buy, the person who's serving you gets to know that these are the things you saw and kept in your cart the last time you were around. They're on your website, not in person. So then what happens is if they have those pieces in stock, they can say as you're finishing your purchase that we noticed that you had liked these things but you had not really made a decision on them. Can we showcase them to you and see whether you'd like them and take a decision on it? So thereby what happens is then you get around to actually looking at them, seeing whether that you really like them. So the sale that you had actually gone or the purchase that you had gone to make of one item can actually result in purchases of 3 items. Okay. That's how we try and improve, getting you the data from all of your channels, getting you the data by giving you a profile of what the person likes. For instance, if I'm flying, people know that I like an aisle seat. Okay? So whenever the aisle seat becomes available, say I haven't got an aisle seat while flying, okay? But I'm a person who flies very frequently. Now an aisle seat becomes available, somebody has cancelled. Can that be proactively then sent to me saying that an aisle seat has become vacant? Should we change your seat from whatever you have to an aisle seat? Imagine my pleasure at getting that. I would definitely think, well, this airline definitely cares about me as a person. So that's the kind of stuff that we are trying to do. And when we are talking about the government, we've done work with a lot of other governments. Whether it be the US government, whether it be governments in Europe, whether it be the government in Australia, the government in Japan, we do a lot of work for all of them. We have not done it in India because India we were still just growing. And India, you can understand, it's a very large country with very large, very diverse databases. Now the fact of the matter is that yes, all of these, whether it be the central, whether it be the state, whether it be the quasi-government agencies, they have all different requirements. But they're a very large segment. And therefore it was important for us at some point of time to make a concerted effort to see what are the specific requirements of this segment and how do we start addressing them. That is what we are trying to do right now. Given the fact that we already have so many solutions working at so many other governments who are also rendering citizen services, who are also there in very, very many areas of business, we believe that we have a lot of solutions that can find resonance with the requirements here. And the effort would be to try and bring them in for our own.
We have a question in the back.
Hi.